fail and have to take the same grade over again. You don't get to go on to the next lesson, the next class, until you have learned the one you are in, because that's all it is a series of lessons. And so you have to learn this one before you go on to the next one, and which may or may not be better. You don't know. One time I asked them, I said, wouldn't it be better if we knew why these things are happening, if we knew the karma we had with the other person? Wouldn't that make it easier when we come into this life? They said it wouldn't be a test if you knew the answers. So that's part of it. We have to go into this not knowing why these things are happening. I see sometimes when I do the regressions, patterns have been set up. The person will be going through many, many lifetimes with the same person. They come back again and again, still trying to work it out. And whenever I do my talk later on up in this series about life after death, when you die and you're coming back into a life again, you will meet with certain people that you have developed karma with, and you will try to work out the karma with these people. You have to. It goes around, comes around. You don't get out of it. And on the other side, you're talking to this person, and you'll say, well, we didn't do so good last time, did we? Let's go back and do it again. This time, you be the husband, I'll be the wife. We can reverse the roles. Maybe we can work it out that way, because you have to work it out. And sometimes it's not just one past life creating the problem. It can be a whole series of them. You've gotten into a rut with the same person, and you're just not making any headway in trying to work out the karma. Well, if you're coming back this time and you're still not able to work it out, it is still a problem. You're just not going anywhere, just going in circles. There's a lot of people talk about a father or a mother in their life, that there's no way they will ever please them. They will never be able to work it out. In a case like that, I tell them to do it mentally. You can't do this consciously because the other person doesn't have any idea what you're talking about. Mentally, contact the other person and say, it's not going to work. We've tried so many times. Let's just tear up the contract. Because when you come into the life, you do sign a contract with these people. Say, let's just tear up the contract. You go your way, and I'll go mine, and we'll work it out a different way. We tried. We really tried, but it's just not going to work. Why keep going over and over something that is not going to work? In that case, just release them, cut them loose, and let them go. And mentally just say, you go your way with love and try to work out your problems in a different way. I'll go my way. We've tried, we can't do it, so let's just forget about it and go on with some other lessons. And you'd be surprised, once you do that, the other person can't affect you like they did. I like to say they can't push your buttons anymore. It's no fun to them anymore. It's a game, really, that they're playing a lot of times just to push your buttons and get you angry. Once you release them and let them go, it doesn't affect you the same way anymore. And they can't push your buttons. And many people are very surprised at this, on how it can happen. And some people have said, yes, but the person who I'm having the trouble with has died. They've already gone on, and we never had a chance to reconcile our problems. You can still do it by mentally contacting that person's spirit on the other side. They can still have contact with you, and you can do it the same way. Just say, we tried, and we're not going to be able to do it, so I release you from the contract. You go on and find the best way you can over there to work out your own problems and to go in your own direction, and I'll go in mine. You'd be surprised once you do this, the peace of mind that you will have afterwards, because you have released them. They say, what is the quickest but not necessarily the easiest way to work out karma and get rid of karma? The quickest but not the easiest way. It's to forgive the person. You have to put them, and that's very difficult, but you have to forgive them and let them go. Then you don't have any more karma with that person, and they can't hurt you anymore. They can't affect your life. Because a lot of the people that come to me, it's not physical problems, it's karmic problems with their families. They want to know, why did I come into this family? Why did I end up in this kind of a situation? I've heard horror stories you wouldn't believe of the way people have been raised, with the way they were treated as a child. And I often wonder how that person ever turns into a functioning adult with the way they were brought up. But to their credit, they have overcome all of these things and turned into a functioning adult that is a credit to society. In those cases, you might think, well, maybe it was a test that was set up. Maybe it was something happened in another life that they're repaying by having to go through these things. Because often the subconscious will say they had to learn some things. This was the only way they could learn it. And before you come into a life, you are shown a glimpse of what your life is going to be. And you agree to live this life. And your guides and guardian angels will say, you know, this is not going to be an easy one. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. But by going into this, you will repay a lot of karma. You will get rid of a lot of this junk, this garbage and this baggage you've been carrying around for many, many lives. And usually the person agrees to it, that this, all right, I'll try this. So remember that. You wrote the script. You decided on what it was you wanted to work out when you came into this life. Right now, hopefully you have gone through the worst of it as a child, maybe with parents that presented problems, but you chose those parents for a reason. I've even found people who were adopted. They picked the parents who were their biological parents for the biological characteristics of the body. But also, when they get this preview of the life, they are also shown the person who will eventually adopt them. So most of this we try to work out before we come back. But you know, the best laid plans of mice and men don't often turn out the way we want them to. This is because this is a planet of free will. You come in with your nice little plan, all wrapped up in a package like a Christmas present with a nice bow on top saying, this is what I want to do. I'll get it all worked out this time around. But because it is a planet of free will, all the other participants in this huge scenario, this play, this theatrical play, this game that we're in, they all come in with their own little plans of what they want to accomplish, with all wrapped up like a pretty package. And when they get here, everything collides. And often, it doesn't work out the way we intended to. I've taken people through the death experience, and they'll say, but I had it all planned. I had it all figured out. What happened? Life happened. Life gets in the way. There's emotions, there's love, anger, jealousy, all these things we have to deal with. And we work it out the best way we can. And if our plan doesn't work, we take the alternative route. We do the best we can. That's all we can be expected to do. If you can't do it all this time, you can do it the next time around. But these things are very important for us to know about. that we have control over our life once we understand these things, to a certain extent, I guess you would say. But the mind is powerful enough that it can create illnesses, and it can also cure them and take them away once we find out why the person has these illnesses and what it's trying to show the person. I'll give a few more examples. I don't know if I'm going to have time to do as much as I thought, so maybe in the next show I can continue with some more of these cases that will illustrate what I'm trying to talk about. But I had one young man who came to me. He was a college student. He was much older than the other ones in his class because he had never been able to complete the classes. He was under stress all the time. And when he was in the classes taking the courses, he would often pass out. And during this time, he would have so much stress that he couldn't even eat. He would be constantly throwing up. He had intestinal problems. And it was very difficult for him. And so he would go to the classes stressed out with no food, his upset stomachs, and often he would pass out in class. So this went on for 2 or 3 years where he just was not getting anywhere with his classes in the college because he couldn't complete them. He couldn't even make a headway. And we were trying to find out what was causing this. So when I put him under, we found a pattern. He had about 5 different lives where he died with injury to that part of his body, his intestinal area. As he had set up a pattern, he was in a rut of repeating the same kind of thing. Had like 5 different lifetimes. Once bayoneted, run over by a carriage, fell off a cliff. It was all to injury to that part of his body. So that became a very sensitive part of his body. So in this life, when he was under any kind of stress, it would react in that part of his body and cause problems. And then while I had him under, another strange thing came out that connected to this life. The subconscious was talking about this and telling us what was wrong, and it said, I hear the mother saying, you make me sick. You make me want to throw up. Now there was the key. He had the pattern in the other life. He was in the rut, and he brought it forward into this life, and it was reemphasized by the mother having those feelings toward the baby and the little child. So he grew up with this inferiority feeling, I guess you would say, and the feeling of stress, and it's centered in that part of the body. And it just followed a pattern into this life. And its subconscious did say, even recognizing the pattern, it would help if he could forgive the mother and release her. Then we could get rid of everything. So that was what we worked on at the rest of the session, was to get him to forgive his mother and to release her, because he'd had a lot of problems with her that he hadn't even told me about. And then right before we were going to come out of the session, the subconscious said, oh, he's going to be all right now. He feels hungry. And when he woke up, he said, I want to eat. And it was the first time in days that he had really felt like eating something and being able to keep it down. See what I mean? We have to go into the past lives to find out some of these causes, but sometimes it relates to this life. It can be many different